Hey everybody, Luke here. I've got a battle report using the new Empire list. My buddy wanted to play Empires. He started kind of buying some of the kits, and I've been putting them together for him in my spare time. And we proxied our way up to 2,500 points. It's been a while since we played, but I threw down a kind of fast-moving vampire army. Knew that I was going to be playing Empire, and he was going to be shooting the crap out of me. And unfortunately, we got Battle for the Pass, which means I've got a longer distance to traverse. Here's what I took. You can tell I've been working on my models. I bought a bunch of Mantic models because I can't afford all the Games Workshop core that the vampire counts require. Plus, I think the Mantic ones look better for zombies and skeletons. But I've got 50 skeletons with the Screaming Banner there. They've got hand, weapon, shield. I've got 2 groups of 40 zombies, 5 Vargheists, a Varghulf, 2 sets of dogs. Next to them, 25 Graveguard, got a level 4 Master Necromancer. Decided to give him the Lore of Death, see how that went this time. And then I've got a Strigoi Ghoul King and 2 Terrorgeists to try out the double screams. Here's what the board looked like. He could tell he's way down, pushed into his end. I've got to traverse this long distance. He's huddled around a Wizard's Tower there, and kind of trying to share all the buffs and the auras and whatnot. And then he's got his war machines up on the hills. Not too familiar with all the names of the Empire, but from what I do know, he's proxied that Trebuchet is a cannon, a great cannon. He's got a Master Engineer next to it, and the mortar is actually a Hailstorm rocket battery. The Chariot model in there is the Hurricanum, which is giving him throughout the game 1 extra casting die on his phase, and what else? Oh, he's doing +1 to hit on anything within 6 inches on his side, which is really cool and painful. He's got a group of swordsmen. That's a 30 group right there. That's mostly proxied units of Bretonnia. And then it's got a detachment, which is one of the Empire's new things. And the detachment is just 15 schlubs. They don't really have anything going for them that I saw in the game. Got a steam tank right out front and 50 freaking halberdiers there with a battle standard bearer and a general. That's a big unit. And then he's got 3 Demigryph Knights, which I think we should refer to only as Chocobo Knights. And I think he should actually paint them up yellow to look like Chocobos. That would be a pretty cool centerpiece to his army. Then on this hill, he's got a Master Engineer between a Great Cannon and a Hellblaster Volley Gun, which is absolutely terrifying. So on my side down here, you can see I've kind of just deployed out as best I can. It's kind of tight. I had these big monsters and guys, and having to try to squeeze them in. You can see the dogs are trying to squeeze in there on the side, and the Terrorgeists are trying to stay within the March bubble so they can get a good first takeoff from the general. That's kind of just how it goes. So during my first turn, just normal movement. Everyone pretty much moves up. The Terrorgeist in the middle kind of holds back a little bit, but everyone else is racing down the flanks, and they're trying to get to eat those war machines. Magic Phase was a little weird this time. I actually rolled well. It was 11 dice to 6, but this is when I realized, the first time taking Lore of Death, it really got short range. I couldn't, cast anything. I was able to juice up, just barely reach with a 24-inch range on Spirit Leech, but it got dispelled. I was able to get off and heal a few zombies, I believe, with Invocation of Nehek, and then I used the Book of Archon to move the Graveguard up into the marsh. I thought that if the steam tank wants to hit me, well, I think I want it to fight the Graveguard anyway. I think they'll be able to wound it with their great weapons, and they're in the marsh, so they're getting regen, and I wasn't quite sure on the rules. It turns out it's not really that big of a deal. It's just dangerous terrain. It's not like the steam tank's a chariot, but when I moved in there, I thought it would just crumble and die, and I would win the game, and they would make me the sheriff. So I guess I just went right by. I don't have a good picture of Empire turn 1. He doesn't move at all. Almost at all. He shuffles a few guys here and there just a little bit. During Magic, it's 4 dice to 2. He picks up all 4 and rolls 3 6s to cast Shem's Burning Gaze. And he casts them, I think, on the Vargheists. And, it's Lore of Light, and he's casting, so there's extra die all over. But he rolls just awful. I think out of 12 hits, he rolls 6 1s, and only 2 end up dying, I think. It could have been on someone else. I can't quite remember. But basically, it was a whole awful Magic Phase for him. Plus, he had an Irresistible Force, which put 2 wounds, 1 on his mage and 1 on a warrior priest. I really liked it. But then we went into the shooting phase, and the Hellblaster Volley Gun shot 18 times, put 2 wounds on Vargheist, so it could have been way worse. But Oh, I'm sorry, we would put 2 wounds on a Varghulf. Um, I'm sorry, I think that's, yeah, it must have been the Vargheist. I can't even read my own notes here. One of the cannons shoots, hits the Terrorgeist. He doesn't regen, but it only does 1 wound, which is awesome because normally they die right away for me. The cannon on the steam tank shoots and does 2 wounds. I'm sorry, 3 wounds on this closest Terrorgeist there, which again sucks, but at the same time I'm used to them dying in 1 cannon hit, so I'm kind of happy about that. And the Hellstorm rocket battery misfires and destroys itself. And I just never get that luck with opponent's War Machine, so I'm pretty happy. Vampire's turn 2. On this side, you can see I'm just moving up this Terrorgeist just to get on the side of the Chocobo Knights, and I'm going to scream at that War Machine, moving the dogs up to get into combat there. I moved the Terrorgeist and plopped him right in the middle here. I knew I wanted to scream at the steam tank. This guy already had 3 wounds on him, so I thought that, you know what, he's going to get shot immediately and die. Let's scream at that steam tank and get some wounds on him. And I was used to, the only other steam tank I'd fought was the old one, where as soon as you start putting wounds on it, the player doesn't really feel like he can generate steam points anymore without, losing the steam tank. So it's been changed. It's not that way in this edition. It's much, much better for a player on the Empire side. You're more likely to try to generate points even with wounds on you. And on our side, as the people fighting it, you can actually down the thing now. I really like it. But that was my rationale there. Let's scream at it before this Terrorgeist goes down, and then maybe he'll screen the Graveguard a bit because the thing can't overrun. So that's what I was thinking. You can see the Vargheists up there charge the detachment. If you charge that main unit, the detachment just swings in and flank charges you. So I said, screw that, I'll just charge the detachment. And I didn't have any real negative consequences from that, so I'm not sure if that's just what you're supposed to do in that case. Let's see. That was movement. During Magic, it was 11 dice to 6 again. I cast Caress of Lanif on the steam tank and did 2 wounds. Invocation of the Heck was dispelled, so I tried to juice that up to the big version to heal both the Terrorgeist so that they could scream better, but that got dispelled. And with the Book of Archon, let's see, do I have a picture of it? Yeah, I moved the dogs up right here. I figured let's just not let those Chocobo Knights do what they want to do right away. They're going to have to speed bump through those dogs. So that's what I did with my Magic phase. During shooting, there we go. Good picture. During shooting, I killed the Hellblaster was over there, which was awesome because that thing was terrifying. And then I put 3 wounds on the steam tank from the Terrorgeist. So I think it's at a total of 5 now. During close combat, that explosion marker was just showing where the misfire was last turn. That didn't just happen there. But during close combat, the Vargheist killed 9. They do 3 wounds back. Turns out he was cheating here. We didn't realize it till later. He has a sergeant in the detachment. I probably didn't do too much extra bonus for him. This is where we had a question. We weren't sure. So the detachment gets everything that the main unit gets. Not everything, but it gets like a set of rules. And one of those rules listed is steadfast. So we weren't sure, as far as we could tell, the fact that the main unit had more ranks than I did, they got to use, their steadfast leadership. But if the main unit's not in combat, does steadfast even exist? This is a question we had no idea, and we're hoping to pose it and someone can tell us what they think here. Because it seems weird. If there's only 3 guys left, they're obviously not steadfast, and because their, parent unit is standing around out there, does that come into play unless they're engaged? Does anyone know? Post a comment, let me know. But basically, because we played it as if they were steadfast, they held. And that was pretty much the end of the turn. Just an incredibly blurry picture. So we're going to Empire turn 2. For movement, right away, the steam tank generates 3 points, but misfires. It goes on the something went wrong chart, and it ended up being valve locked where the cannon couldn't shoot. I liked that. That was nice. These Chocobo Knights charge the dogs. That'll go pretty quickly for them. And then the Stank has its compulsory movement, and I don't know why I have a little explosion out there. I wonder if I missed something here. Nope, that comes later. I can't tell you why I have that little explosion out there, but the Stank moves forward and hits the Terrorgeist. Let's see, where are we? We go into Magic. It's 3 dice to 4. You know, that card's giving him an extra die. I use the Dispel Scroll. He tries to get Shem's Burning Gaze off, a juiced up version. I had to use the Dispel Scroll on it, sadly. During shooting, the cannon puts 2 wounds on the Terrorgeist, who's now down to 1. I believe that's the... Yeah, I guess I don't have a good picture of it. I think that's the one in the middle. And cannon number 2 fails to wound a Varghulf, which is pretty nice. During close combat, the Terrorgeist gets just demolished in the middle. He gets 13 strength 6 impact hits or something amazing like that, and so that Terrorgeist just gets eaten up. The Chocobos kill the dogs very handily, and the Vargheist kill the detachment here, and this is where we make a mistake. I have them overrun because I'm thinking they're Frenzy, but this is actually the second turn, so they should have just reformed. I'm not sure... That actually probably had a big impact in the game and didn't really realize it. So you can see here, you know, where they overran there. And then that's kind of all that happened on Empire turn 2. During turn 3, the Vargheists, having overran accidentally, instead of reforming, had enough and just charged that cannon that was sitting over there. I probably, if I had played that right, would have slammed him into the side of that unit with the caster in it there, the bigger one, or maybe even that Hurricaneum, but, you know, didn't work out that way. Would have had the Varghulf help out there, too. The dogs charge up the flank of the steam tank there, and I don't have an arrow for it, but they're buried right in there because I want... The steam tank can't do anything to me on my turn, and so I want it kind of locked down, and I did not charge with the Graveguard there. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do there. You can see that picture there where the Chocobo Knights, that little explosion where the Chocobo Knights killed the dogs. I parked my Terrorgeist right up here because, and actually I get into combat with the cannon, I'm just going to scream right at it. So just another picture of movement where the dogs came in. I moved my caster out, my level 4 Death Caster, and I moved the Graveguard up, but not in combat yet. You know, this is just a big blunder on my part. For some reason, I didn't think that those swordsmen were going to be able to get to me. And I thought everything was just going to be great if I could move my guy out and I could cast Spirit Leech and kill his mage. I don't know why. He had wounds on him. I thought it was going to be a sure thing. It would have been better to throw all my dice at Purple Sun and just go right through the steam tank and go into the Halberdiers, or maybe just go right into that unit of swordsmen. But sadly, I tried the Spirit Leech, and that's going to get my guy killed, unfortunately. So this is what the board looks like. You can see, you know, charge the cannon. At the end, I charge kill the cannon fairly handily and overrun. But before that, I guess we have magic. I throw 1 die at Van Hels on the zombies and move them up. In fact, I think that's probably why I had a picture here. I've moved the zombies. Gosh, I don't have a good one. I moved the zombies up. You can kind of see on the left there. So they're the Chocobo Knights have to hit them first. I don't want to get in combat with them with my skeletons if I can avoid it. So that was a good use of Van Hels, I thought, at least in the position where I was. And I used the rest of my dice on Spirit Leech, which was scrolled, sadly. The Terrorgeist screams, does a wound on the cannon, but doesn't kill it, so it's going to stick around for the next round. The Varghulfs kill this cannon, overrun off the board, and you can see they're kind of just sitting there right now. They'll be back eventually, sadly. It's going to take a little bit. And one dog dies charging in on the steam tank. The stand-and shoot from the guy up inside the cockpit kills one. It's pretty heroic. So on Empire turn 3, yeah, I guess that's the start of turn 3. The Master Engineer decides to charge the Terrorgeist there. I think that was pretty heroic. That thing's gigantic, but he's going to see what he can. And actually, it worked out pretty well because I have to kill those 2 guys because I've got static combat res. Now, it's likely, but I only have 1 wound left on the Terrorgeist, so if they hit me, you know, I'm going to poof, and if I can't manage to you know, get over that 2 CR for some reason, he's just going to crumble. So it's actually kind of a tight spot. You can see the Chocobo Knights actually made their charge. They had to hit the zombies. They're going to hit the zombies. The halberdiers moved forward and got into combat with my Ghoul King and the skeletons there. What do we got on this side? We got the. This is where my blunder. I didn't realize they were going to be able to hit them till that instant, and they did. And I was like, oh god, there goes my level 4. That sucked. The steam tank misfires, generating points. And what happens is it gains another wound and then generates 6 points. So it almost blew up. I think he was like 1 die roll away or something like that. He could have just blown up and it would have been pretty great. But he doesn't move forward. He just saves those points for shooting, basically. So no one's still in combat with the steam tank. During Magic, it was 7 dice to 4, thanks to the Hurricanum, making the gap even bigger. I decided to let the Warrior Priest 5+ ward spell go through on the unit of skeletons, which was one that was a mistake, and then because that was a pretty good spell that was going to make it harder, an uphill battle to remove them from the ranks. But then he just throws all the rest of his dice and gets Irresistible Force on Biriona's Time Warp, the juiced up version. So now everyone I'm in combat with is going to just kick my ass. And I just didn't even think that was a possibility. Unfortunately, this is where the game goes south for me. During close combat, you can see the Terrorgeist up there is able to kill the 2 guys and turns around to reform. He's going to try to come help because we're in a tight spot down here. During shooting, the rifleman in the steam tank shoots, but I don't think he is able to hurt anyone. I wrote that down, but I don't think he actually shot anyone. I don't know why. The steam tank uses 3 points with its steam gun and 5 Graveguard die from it. In close combat, like I said, the Terrorgeist reform, the Master Necro gets just exploded. These zombies with the Chocobos, they die and they crumble quite a bit, but that's fine. I'm just targeting those guys. I have no illusions I'm going to do any wounds there. And the Horde fails its fear test coming in on the skeletons, which was great. That actually saved me a lot of wounds right up front because even though they're re-rolling their hits because of the Hurricanum, and they've got an extra attack each, and I think it's high weapon skill. I can't remember what Time Warp gives you fully, but now they're feared, so they're weapon skill 1, so I'm hitting them back a lot easier. So I thought that was pretty good going in, but we challenge, and both of our unit champions go into challenge with each other. They both whiff at each other, and the Strigoi Ghoul King literally whiffs everything. He's just a complete asshole. He misses all of his stuff, and I think maybe like 1 wound was going to get through, and then the ward save from the Warrior Priest manages, but it was just a complete waste. He wasn't doing anything. So I lose and crumble by a bunch. Yep, you can see my caster died, and this is what it's looking like. So on Vampire turn 4, my zombies charge his halberdiers and close the door to them, as you can see on the right there. I decide, you know what, I'm in trouble. I think I can take that steam tank out. It's only got, I think, 3 wounds left on it. So I charge the Terrorgeist in, and I charge the Graveguards in as well. I debated on whether to charge the Terrorgeist in, and I thought, you know what, he's just a couple extra attacks. His steam tank can't do anything to me on its turn, so I'm not worried. And then he gets a stand and shoot, and he almost killed the Terrorgeist because only has 1 wound left. I was just sweating there. Thankfully, he missed, but I was pretty much terrified when I realized what I did. I think that's it for movement. Oh, you can see the blue arrow there. The Varghulf tried to charge and just whiffed it, sadly. Just a really bad roll. I tried to charge the Hurricanum to get that thing moving, and it would have been great because he would have panicked like all the way through and off the board and removed all those rerolls, bouncing through all those guys. But that unfortunately didn't happen that way. During Magic, he dispels Van Hells to try to heal. To try to get some rerolls off. And then on 5 dice, I failed to cast Invocation of the Heck, the level 12 version. I just rolled like 4 1s. It was awful. So I was going to heal up guys and, heal the Terrorgeist to bed, heal up my Ghoul King because he's got 1 wound on him. And then I just failed to cast. So here's another picture of it. I think, yeah. So in shooting, I put a wound on the steam tank. And then during the rest of the attacks in close combat, he fails all 3 of his armor saves from the Graveguard's attacks, and he dies. I finally killed the steam tank. I don't know anyone who's actually ever done that. Normally they just get so low and they just sit there, but it's very possible in this new edition. So I was, even though I'm in a really tight spot, I was jumping for joy at finally killing a steam tank. I was very, very happy. And then because I charged, I overran those Graveguard in to join this combat with the Halberdiers. I just barely clipped them, but I'll take what I can get. And sadly, my joy is short-lived, as the 9 Halberdiers, with their extra attack and with their rerolls and their buff, they just shish kebab the Strigoi Ghoul King. I roll 1s on all my regens, and he just gets immediately killed. He's already sitting on a wound, too. So it's pretty much over. You can see he's poofed here. I'm crumbling all over because, you know, I went for kind of a list that was a little more up front, and I wanted to try some character sniping, so I have nobody who can take over for me, and so these guys are just crumbling, as you can see. It's bad. So we go into Empire 4. There's no movements during Magic. It's 7 dice to 3 dice again. I'm thinking maybe if I can just survive another round, I can get those Vargheist that just came back on the board and the Varghulf in, and sadly, he gets juiced up Buriona Time Warp off again, and it affects even more of his guys. So that's pretty much the game. I think I have some pictures just showing what happened, chopping through, but nothing, nothing out of the ordinary. You can see here the Vargheists are trying to get back there, but they're not even going to get close. The Varghulf wasn't able to get in on his last turn. Oops, I screwed up my audio there. But just wanted to add this last slide in to say that it was a really good game. We were talking about it afterwards. It felt like right in the beginning I really had the Empire player on the ropes. I was just blowing up his war machines like crazy, and I was feeling really good about it. And then just unfortunately the way things went in the middle at the end, getting Biriona's Time Warp off and not being able to take care of the Hurricaneum was just devastating for me. And then a blunder on my part by moving my Necromancer out, thinking that I was going to do something grand and then not following through on it, then just getting charged was just a waste of points. And then the Strigoi Ghoul King himself was also a waste of points in the end because he didn't do anything and just gave up the ability to control all the undead. So there's a few changes I might make. In fact, I'm thinking about trying the Coven Throne and taking the Ghoul King out and putting in a vampire, maybe even vampire BSB up there and seeing how that would go. I think that would be a cool addition to this list. There is a problem right now where, because of the leadership requirements of your general and what the vampire book says, that you have to make sure your general has a lore of vampires, but if you have a lord level vampire, then you can't really use any other lores. So I was trying to get around that this time by having a Master Necromancer with Death, and it had some pluses and minuses, but I think I'm hoping when the Vampire FAQ comes out that we'll have some way around that restriction, that we can actually have our lord level vampires take a different lore, and not have the requirement that they have to take vampires, that you just have to have any caster with vampires. That would make it a little bit more fun to use some of the lore, and I think that's how it's actually designed when you read the book. So I'm hoping for that FAQ soon. But otherwise, I thought the Empire was pretty cool. There's a lot we still haven't seen in there. Its guns are just devastating. I like the detachments. I think those Chocobo Knights are really strong, and I'm just going to have to tarp at those from now on. The changes to the steam tank I think were fantastic. It's way easier to hit and wound now, and it's way more forgiving, so that the Empire player doesn't want to not do anything with it. And I finally got to kill one. So I think it was a really good game. It was a lot of fun. I still have not won with my new vampires, but I'm actually having fun again. The last few lists I've had were very enjoyable and very different. I could easily see 3 or 4 different ways I would totally theme this army differently, and it'd all be just as viable. So thanks for watching, and hopefully someday I'll get a vampire win up here to show you.